Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today we are ranking the Premier League managers for the upcoming 23-24 season. I'm joined by Sophie. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Getting closer and closer to the season starting, so I'm happy.
Absolutely. Guys, do make sure, as I say, as always, to hit that like button. We'll go for 300 likes on this video. And do make sure, of course, to subscribe to get your Premier League fix. Let's get into the tier list. So then, guys, let me just point a few things out first. First of all, we're using the badges of the club just so you can identify who's who easier. If I have pictures of the managers, it's actually quite hard to see who's who in the distance, if that makes sense. So just to make it easier, and because I am lazy, we've got badges instead. Another thing worth pointing out is I don't actually think there's any terrible managers at this moment in time. The worst grade we're going to have is a C. The best grade, A star, and then an A, and then a B, and then a C. I think if there was any managers that were below a C, they wouldn't be at their clubs coming into the new season. We'll go through it randomly in order of the teams, how they are placed along here. Sophie, first up, you've got Brentford and Thomas Frank.
I like him.
He's brilliant.
Yeah, for a few years now, people are saying, like, oh, he's a bit of a dupe of Jurgen Klopp. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Jurgen Klopp. However, I think Thomas Frank in his own right been a great manager, and consistently now he's not just had one good season, he's done it over a few seasons. Brentford, it's not offensive to say they're not a massive club, and they're kicking it with the big boys up there.
Honestly, they are doing so well. He's been there since 2018. He's got a 45% win ratio, which is incredible when you think they've now been in the Premier League longer than in the Championship with Thomas Frank. I think he's got to be at the top end of A, like bordering
it's either
A
or A star, to be honest.
We could maybe move him into A star at the end. We'll see how crowded it gets. But like, I don't know what else he has to do to prove himself. He got Brentford into the top 9 last season, and I think there's potential for him to push them on further. The recruitment is sensible. Thomas Frank, mwah, we love you. Arsenal, Sophie, it's Mikel Arteta.
I mean, the season he's had, I feel like you're going to have him an A star. I know some people would say, oh, he bottled it, but then I get the other argument of you weren't expecting them to win the league, you're expecting Man City to. So for them to drag it out for so long, I feel like it's got to be A star. And he's trying to turn things around at Arsenal, like big money signings, bringing in Declan Rice. I feel like it's got to be A star.
Really?
Are you going to disagree?
Do you know what? You're right. Up until February last season, A star, and then he was like hitting a C grade for those final months, and it fell away, and Man City took over. He's now been there for, well, it was 2019, so it's coming up to about 4 years he's been there, and he's been building them. You know, you think about where he took them over from. They were outside of Europe, and he's got them to a point where they nearly won the title. Yes, they didn't win it, which is the important thing, but they nearly won it. They were in the race. I think the recruitment's been sensible. They are now being linked, as we say, with big players like Declan Rice. I mean, that could go through by the time we release this video, and that is just a statement of intent from Mikel Arteta. But the other thing to consider is that it means they are spending a lot of money, so they should be competing up there. I would be tempted to say A, but are you definitely saying A star? I don't mind.
I would say A star.
All right, we'll put him in A star. Aston Villa, Soph, Unai Emery, good evening. He did such a good job for Villa last season.
Yeah, when he took over from them, I don't think he had a pre-season and hadn't actually signed like anyone of his own players, and he took that squad on and he drove them up the table, so he's got to have credit for that. They have got money now, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with this summer transfer window and where he invests that and where they can push on next season. But I think he's had a very good season. So
absolutely.
Probably A.
Yeah, I think so. He hasn't actually had a full year at Villa yet, because he came in last season when Steven Gerrard was burning the place down, and he got a 55% win ratio, which is very good for Villa. He shot them into the top 7. Villa are back in Europe. That's crazy. He didn't do great for Arsenal. I think he actually had a 55% win ratio for Arsenal, which isn't great. Aside from that, he's won the Europa League before. He's won Ligue 1 in France. Overall, big picture, I think you're right. A.
Yeah.
I think that's about fair, isn't it? Villa fans might say A star. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on next season, to be fair.
Yeah.
Bournemouth, Soph, this is an interesting one because we've now got a manager, Areola, who's not managed in the Premier League before, so you almost have to say ungraded. He has managed elsewhere, but as I say, he hasn't managed in the Premier League, which makes it very hard to judge. So I think we are going to have to slide him in C. One thing I will say, though, is he can certainly prove himself in the coming season for an A or a B. And if it was Gary O'Neill, Soph, I'd be tempted to give him an A.
No, genuinely, I would have put Gary O'Neill in A, and I think it's so harsh getting rid of him. I guess Bournemouth, at the moment, they're kind of unsure what the statement of intent is with getting rid of him after they stayed up and had a good season. To then bring a new manager in, like, are they then thinking they could go one step further and finish a little bit higher? I'm guessing so.
I think that's the goal, yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It's going to have to be C just because we don't know what to expect yet.
Yeah, that's only fair. I don't think Bournemouth fans can disagree with that. We haven't seen him in the Premier League yet. Manchester City, Soph, it's not even up for debate.
Just straight up there.
Jump to the front of the queue, Pep Guardiola. This guy is just unbelievable. He's been there for 7 seasons now, winning 5 Premier Leagues. He's done the treble last season, picked up a few League and FA Cups along the way. Yes, people will say Man City spend a lot of money. They have one of the biggest budgets. They've just got so much going for them. But still, you know, he had to navigate past Arsenal last season. He's been competing with Liverpool over previous seasons. And if he's staying for maybe a couple more years, then he might even be having to take on Newcastle. You know, there's loads of different challenges popping up for Man City, but you cannot take away. And also, let's just mention how good he was for Bayern Munich and Barcelona as well.
Yeah, exactly. So he'd already proven himself as a manager before coming in at Man City. To win the treble as well, it just shows that, yeah, the team's good, but it shows what a squad he's built. So he's been able to rotate like midweek games, things like that. Yeah, you look at the first 11, you think, oh, that's an amazing team, but actually it's the squad as a whole, and he's built that up, and he's brought through a few youth players as well. And the rotation he does, sometimes you think, why on earth has he dropped De Bruyne? You look at the bench, sometimes you think that's an absolute joke. And it's obviously worked because he's won the Champions League, the Premier League and the FA Cup in one season, and not that many injuries either. So I think he's done a great job. I don't think anyone would disagree with that either.
No. You're spot on there, Soph. Like, we all just keep repeating the same things about how brilliant he is. It's almost too boring. Let's move on. Next up, you've got Brighton, Soph. De Zerbi, brilliant. I mean, once again, you could say Brighton are just so well run in the background that most managers could go in there and do a semi-decent job, but he did amazing. Big boots to fill from Graham Potter.
Yeah, I think with De Zerbi, I was a little bit sceptical at first when he came in. Like, it's big shoes to fill, as you said, with Potter leaving. But he came in, hit the ground running, and he's got good results out of them. So I feel like the fans almost expect a top half finish now out of Brighton. And a good few years ago, you would not ever dream of saying that. So he's doing a good job. Up there for me. Yeah,
got to be. It hasn't really been there long, but what he's done so far is just so good. I think you've got to put him at the top end of A. Once he's maybe had another year, you can slide him into A star. But brilliant so far, but we're comparing against managers who have done much longer stints. So maybe just top end of A, which I still think is quite harsh. Brighton fans absolutely love this guy. I think he's brilliant as well, but we'll put him there for now. Burnley, Soph, Vincent Kompany. Now, as a player, one of the best the Premier League's ever seen, but as a manager, inexperienced yet. But what he's done so far, he managed at Anderlecht, did a decent job, managed to Burnley in the Championship, did a brilliant job.
Yeah, absolutely romped the Championship. As we're ranking Premier League managers, it's quite hard as he's not had a season in the Premier League yet, but he did a great job last season with Burnley and absolutely walked the Championship. So I feel like he's another one that's unproven in the Premier League, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have decent expectations for Burnley coming into the new season. As I say, at Anderlecht he did okay. I think it was 3rd and 4th they finished, but at Burnley they really were good. They won the league, and I think we can all say they deserve to. Played some good stuff, and I feel like Vincent Kompany as a player, as a former player, as a manager, players will want to come to Burnley and play for him. And he's got the old Manchester City connections and links as well. Because he's unproven in the Prem, I don't think we could put him in the top 2 categories. No. But because he's proven at Burnley, I think we can at least give him a B. Does that sound
I'm
fair?
going to give him a B because I'm optimistic about it. As we said, unproven, and we said the same at Bournemouth, but I'm just a little bit more optimistic about Kompany.
Yeah, this is certainly something we can come back to in 6 months or so. And if Vincent Kompany's got Burnley in the top 10 after 6 months, he's going straight into
Straight
A.
up.
Chelsea, Soph, it's Mauricio Pochettino.
I like him, actually.
I do.
I know a lot of people say that he works the players really hard, he's really tough on them, and I think that's what they need at Chelsea at the moment. Chelsea is a little bit disjointed. There's a lot of big money players there. I mean, they've got rid of a hell of a lot of players. Half of them are off to Saudi. And I think he's got a big job on his hands this time, to be honest, Pochettino. So it's going to be an interesting season. But judging what he did at Spurs and also PSG, I think he's got to be up there. However, I do think this is going to be a tough job, to be honest, at Chelsea.
I agree. We've already seen a lot of change this summer. So many big players coming and going out the door at Chelsea. But yes, I mean, PSG did all right. I mean, he won League One. As for what he did at Spurs, I feel like I've said before, he took them as far as Spurs have been over the last 20, 30 years or so. And then he was actually at Southampton before that as well, where he did a decent job. So he's built his way up, from Southampton to Spurs to PSG to Chelsea, doing a brilliant job here. Unproven at Chelsea, but certainly proven in the Premier League. I think we can give him an A.
I'd give him an A, yeah.
Where are we? There.
Down a bit.
There you go. Villa fans have intervened. Crystal Palace, Soph. Roy Hodgson. Oh,
straight in A star. No, I'm joking. A for me, honestly.
I think
Roy, you look at his age and you just write him off straight away.
He has got to be an A though, hasn't he?
He genuinely has, because he's Mr. Consistent in the Prem. Like, the man just won't retire. I don't know how long he's going to go for, but he's still doing a good job. So keep up, Roy.
Keep up it. Roy Hodgson's been everywhere. He's been absolutely everywhere. He's worked his way up from grassroots as well, and
to international as well.
Yeah, to international. I mean, England didn't end great for him. No. We never really got very far in the competitions. I remember there was a clip where the TV focused on him and he pretended to look like he was thinking or something.
That's brilliant.
I feel like in the Premier League though, he's proven himself more. At West Brom I think he was alright. I don't think he was amazing for Liverpool. Palace for me is where he's been really good. I think he spent 4 or 5 years there initially, went out the door for 18 months, and then they were starting to sink under Patrick Vieira. He comes back and saves them. So he's there again going into the new season, and I just think he's so experienced, and he'd be like probably one of the nicest out of all of these to sit down and have a conversation with. The stories he'd be able to tell from wars gone by. Crystal Palace are definitely going to have a manager that's going in A. I love Roy Hodgson. Everton, Soph. Sean Dyche.
I feel like we're going to have different opinions on this.
What?
He makes them really, really hard to break down, and
that's good though.
No, it is. It's a good thing, but that's my good point. Other than that, it's not the most entertaining to watch. I mean, the job he was doing at Burnley, like to just keep them up, was just insane. You've got to give him credit for that. And he comes in at Everton, keeps them up, but made hard work of it. So for me, he's not going in the top 2. B for me.
Really?
Yeah, go on, make your point.
Okay, maybe like B plus then. I think we're judging them on managerial experience in the Premier League. What a guy at Burnley! Well at Burnley. He was sacked before they got relegated, so technically he's not got a relegation on his CV. And then he came in and saved Everton last season. And if you look at the points per game, I think Everton would have been a bit higher up the Premier League table if, as I say, it had started when Sean Dyche came in. Everton fans, definitely share your thoughts on this one. See, I'm tempted to say A, so but it is getting crowded. Should we say B plus?
Yeah, B plus. Yeah.
B plus. Fulham, Soph. Marco Silva. He's got to get an A, surely.
He's getting an A straight away.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people underestimated him and that Fulham team, and he's always working out.
No.
And what a season he had last year. But it's not like he just ground out the points. Like talking about Sean Dyche there, he made his teams very, very hard to score against, but it wasn't like amazing football. However, Fulham, they were quite exciting at times last season, and they had some good results. So very good season. It'd be interesting to see if they can do it again this season.
Yeah, I don't know what more Marco Silva can do to prove himself at Fulham. Fulham. Been there over 2 years now. Destroyed the Championship, beat pretty much every team 7-0 on their way to winning the league. And then in their first season in the Premier League, they get in the top half after everyone wrote them off. I mean, so many people talk about, everyone wrote Bournemouth off and they stayed up. So many people wrote Fulham off as well, including myself.
I wrote Fulham off.
Yeah, including myself. And they did amazing. They got in the top half and they broke that theory that they're just a yo-yo club. Coming into the new season, it's going to be difficult to maintain those high standards, but for now, Marcus Silva's got to get an A. He was at Watford, Hull and Everton before, but I feel like his best job has certainly been at Fulham. Liverpool safe, Jurgen Klopp is going there.
Yeah, based on last season though, I'd give him a B.
He could go down there, but he's got to have an A star because of he's now the longest serving Premier League manager, so. And yes, I will agree, very poor season by the standards they've set themselves last season. But think where they were when he took them over and what they've achieved. Like, come on.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've always said that I love Jurgen Klopp. The only thing I will say is some of his interviews do wind me up, like some of the excuses. He'd be like, it was a bit windy, like it's just affecting his team.
The grass was a bit long.
Yeah, it was really long grass. Like, there's 2 teams on the pitch. So... yeah, just his interviews let him down, but himself as a manager and what he's achieved at Liverpool, A star.
Yeah, I just don't think that's up for debate. Maybe like some Man United fans might be like, I don't like Jurgen Klopp, but come on, like the guy, even like as you say, he can be maybe a bit annoying in his rubbish excuses, but I think he's brilliant and he's got the best smile, the best teeth out of all the managers as well.
Now he's had him done up again,
definitely an A star. I love you, Jurgen Klopp. He's funny as well. Manchester United safe, Ten Hag. This for me is difficult. Where do we go?
I'd say A. I actually like Ten Hag. And I feel like there's potential there at United. I feel like he did a good job at Ajax, and I can see why they brought him in. It'll be interesting to see what kind of players he's bringing in. I know he's just brought in Mason Mount, and I do personally think that's a little bit too much for Mason Mount, but that's the market for English players. We won't go into that.
Here's a question for you viewers, by the way. Mason Mount went for 60 million. James Maddison went for 40 million. Which of those do you think's a better player? Because me and Sophie have been having that discussion. Carry on, Sophie, about Ten Hag.
Yeah, so with Ten Hag, I think it'll be interesting to see what he can achieve this season. If he doesn't achieve anything or a top 4 finish, then he would drop down for me, but I think it's pretty set that he's going to finish top 4.
Yeah, I mean, he's won the Eredivisie 3 times with Ajax. To be fair, it's hard to judge him on one season at Manchester United, but he's certainly improved them over just that one season. Top 3 finish, a Carabao Cup. It's a step in the right direction. I know they're a big club with high expectations.
Yeah,
but
for United it's not enough, but it's going the right way.
It's one step in the right direction. Newcastle United, so Eddie Howe, A star easily. I'm going to say next to Jurgen Klopp. Where do we go? We'll put him there. Well, maybe equal. But Eddie Howe, no, do you know what? Actually, no, hang on. Eddie Howe, I love you. I loved him at Bournemouth, Sophie.
Yeah, I did.
I felt so passionate about it. I'm not a Bournemouth fan, but everyone loved Bournemouth. Do you know what I mean? It was like the trend. Everyone loved Bournemouth, this small club on this brilliant journey with this absolutely fantastic manager. They had been there from when they were at the bottom of the Football League. He'd been there like 10 years. And now he's got a gig at Newcastle United, and they're a big club that I've always respected, and they're going in the right direction. I know Newcastle United have got rich owners, and they're going to be able to start pumping money about, but he got them top 4 in their first full season with him.
I know.
Brilliant. A star.
I know. When he was linked with the England job, I really wanted him to get it. And do you know what? Now I'm so glad he didn't, because I'm so glad he's at Newcastle, because this has given him the chance to prove that he is a really good manager and he can do it at a top team with big budgets. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Not next season as one. I think they'll give him a good run, to be honest. And it'll be interesting to see where he takes him the next few years.
Yeah, honestly, Eddie Howe, we love you. Newcastle love you. Bournemouth probably still love you. Everyone loves you. Sophie, Steve Cooper, Nottingham Forest, love you. I love this guy as well. How good of a manager is he? I mean, he took Forest from the bottom of the Championship straight into the playoffs, got them promoted. They've had one season in the Premier League where they had to bring in 37 million players, and they stayed up.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I think a lot of people underestimated him. They underestimated Forest. They said, it's a completely new team, which in a way it was, the amount of players they signed, and he made it work. Like, even in the January window they were active, and I think he's done a really good job, so it's quite hard to place him.
It's got to be the top end of A, or could he sneak into A star?
I would say A.
I reckon he's got to go there. Like, he's been there longer than... I think that the other thing is continuity. He'll have been there 2 years soon, and I know that doesn't sound like a long time, but with Premier League managers, that's actually quite a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm intrigued to see how he gets on next season. I feel like it's a big season for Forest because they'll want to push on a little bit at least. But Steve Cooper, you're a genius. You know, you got Swansea into the playoffs 2 years running, and what he's done for Forest, absolutely unreal. Spurs, Sophie, Ange Postecoglou. He's not managed in the Premier League before, just come from Celtic where he's won the SPL title twice, and he's managed Australia before as well.
So it's hard to say without having any Premier League experience, so it's got to be one of the bottom two for me. People may say, oh, but he's won the SPL with Celtic. Yeah, but I feel like most people could go in there and win that, so it's not a massive achievement. It's unproven. So it's really difficult to say. So I'm not saying he's going to be a bad manager, or he is a bad manager. It'll be interesting as well to see if he can keep Harry Kane. I know that they've offered him a massive new contract. So if they do, I think he could have a good season with Spurs.
I agree.
So maybe B.
But Bournemouth fans might complain though, because he's not proven in the Premier League.
I know, but he's got a better squad.
He has.
So
I mean, in terms of recruitment, James Maddison coming in, Kulusevski signing a new deal. If they hang on to Harry Kane as well, then he's already off to a good start. I just feel
you know what? To be fair to Bournemouth, slap him in the bottom.
Well, we like Ange Postecoglou. I'm excited to see what he could do. Spurs fans, this isn't an insult. I do like Tottenham. I feel like they've got a better chance next season than they did last season. But to be fair to Bournemouth, Ange hasn't done anything in the Premier League yet. We're going to just put him there, and he's going to have to work his way up over the coming months. West Ham, so if you've got David Moyes, who is now a Premier League staple. He's been around for ages. When it came to Everton, he was brilliant. When it came to Manchester United, he was terrible. When it came
I think that's harsh, actually, to say he was terrible at Man United. A lot of people say that, but I don't think he did that bad a job.
Do you know what? No,
I'll say that now.
No, so I'm going to disagree with you there, because I know every manager that's gone in there since Sir Alex Ferguson has struggled, and it doesn't surprise me because Sir Alex Ferguson was the best there's ever been. But David Moyes took over after they just won the league. So it's not like that the team was completely different at that point. They still had Van Persie and Rooney, and they were terrible. I know it was a very different job for him, but they were like 7th. I know he didn't get the full season, so maybe that's a bit unfair. Anyway, let's come on to where he is now. West Ham. I feel like before, because he's been at West Ham twice, there was a bit of like uncertainty about him. And then last season, so if you can split into two, the Premier League, not great, but the Europa Conference League, brilliant.
Yeah.
So where do we put him?
I know, ranking as Premier League from last season, it'd be B, because it was actually underwhelming for not just him, like West Ham as well. I suppose
this is Premier League video, isn't it?
I know they got the Conference League, and I know that does affect the Premier League when you're playing in Europe as well. However, like if it was based on last season alone, it'd be B, because it's underwhelming, and he is a well-known Premier League manager.
B plus.
Just because of
been around for ages, and for what he did for Everton, probably an A, and for what he did in the Conference League, probably an A star. But maybe just that Premier League season last year and what he did at Manchester United just pulls him down a little bit. Might seem a bit harsh. Do let us know your thoughts if you're a West Ham fan. This is just our opinion, don't be too offended. Sheffield United safe, you got Paul Heckingbottom, who's been there for about 18 months, maybe a little bit longer than that now. He's done a brilliant job. He got Sheffield United right from the bottom ends of the Championship into the playoffs, and then when they lost out, he took them again the following season and got them in the top two. Not massively experienced in the Premier League, mind, but I suppose it's got to be similar to Kompany, maybe a B?
Yeah, I would say B. I do think he's got a very tough job on his hands. I think most teams coming up from the Championship, you've got to invest in order to stay up, that is. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the summer transfer window goes for him, and then next season. So unproven, so it is going to have to be one of the bottom two.
Massive respect for him, by the way. He did a brilliant job for Sheffield United. He's proven at Sheffield United, but he's not proven in the Premier League. Therefore, we'll say the same as Kompany, B. And I suppose we're probably going to have to say the same for Luton Town.
Yeah.
But what I will say with Luton Town is it's very difficult weighing up their achievements here, but Rob Edwards didn't even have a full season at Luton. He got them 3rd place. He won the playoffs with them. Yeah. Before that, he'd been at Watford, where they sacked him after a couple of weeks, which is not a surprise. But before that, he'd been at Forest Green Rovers, where he'd won them League 2. I feel like this guy's very, very good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he can do in the Premier League, but it's probably got to be a B, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just to be fair to Burnley and Sheffield United.
Yeah, to be fair to them, I do feel harsh not giving him an A just because of what he has done, and a lot of people didn't expect Luton to go up, and a lot of people won't expect Luton to stay up. So he's got a very tough job on his hands. However, I do think him and both Luton like being the underdogs and proving people wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have to agree, I'll stick him in B.
Yeah, by the way, that's not a slant at them. You just, if we're calling this a Premier League video, they've got to try and at least prove themselves in the Premier League first. If we revisit this video in 6 months and Luton are above that bottom 3, then we're more than happy to stick him in A. Do love him, and I thought it was really touching, his post-match interview after the playoff final, when he spoke about Tom Lockyer and there was tears in his eyes. Really nice guy. Finally, Sophie, it's Wolves. Lopetegui, not been at Wolves for very long. I suppose he kept them up, so he did a decent job. He won the Europa League with Sevilla a few seasons ago. B or A, maybe?
Yeah, maybe B.
Yeah.
Top end of B. I do feel
I didn't mean that. There.
Is that what you really think?
Let's put him there.
Yeah, I think with Lopetegui, as you mentioned, winning the Europa League with Sevilla is a big achievement, and you've got to give him credit for that. But we are talking about the Premier League, and he's not had that much time in the Premier League yet, so it is a little bit premature judging him. It'd be interesting to see what he does this window, and again this season, and again with the summer transfer window, if he gets rid of a lot of the deadwoods, and if he brings in... It's more attacking players I feel like they need. They are quite a hard team to break down, especially being at home, like when they are at home. But it's goals and kind of that attacking threat they need to improve on for me. So it'd be interesting to see what they do this summer window and what they do next season. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to be in the relegation zone or near the relegation zone. I do think they're going to be looking up the table this season, so I'll give them a B.
Yeah, okay, I think that's fair enough. Do share your thoughts down below, guys. That wraps up our tier list. Like I say, we're trying to be as fair as possible. I don't think anyone deserves a D. Maybe if they go off to a slow start, we can slide someone into a D. I think the unproven managers are gonna have to just prove themselves to work up this tier list. And we'll just see how it plays out. But yeah, share your thoughts down in the comments. Do make sure to drop a like. Thank you for joining me, Sophie.
Thank you.
And we'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.